Work out angle X. Give your answers to the nearest whole number. So we have the first triangle, we want to find that angle X. Next triangle, angle X, angle X, angle X, angle X, angle X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangles. 6 triangles to work out the angle. And we're going to use SOHCAHTOA, and you could try them and you come back and see how I do it. So looking at the formula on the top right hand side, SOHCAHTOA, the SO means sine of theta is opposite divided by hypotenuse. The CA is cosine of theta is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. The TOA is tan of theta is opposite divided by adjacent. So the best way to remember it is SOHCAHTOA. Hypotenuse is the angle which is the length, the side which is opposite the 90 degrees, the longest side. And then opposite is the one which is opposite the angle. That's the angle there, theta. And adjacent is the one which is next to the angle. So applying that to the triangle, first thing we need to do is to label the sides. So where you have the angle X in yellow, that's, imagine your eyes are there and you're looking, that is the opposite, 3 centimeters. Hypotenuse is the one opposite the 90 degrees, which is 5. So that means you have O and H. Which of them have O and H is the SO. So that means you use the one which is a sine theta. But instead of theta, we are using X. So we say sine of X is equals to opposite divided by hypotenuse. The opposite is 3, the hypotenuse is 5. So sine of X is 3 divided by 5. And to get the angle X, we find the inverse. This is how you write it. Sine with a -1 at the top. Inverse sine of 3 over 5. That's how we say it. Inverse sine of 3 over 5, or arc sine 3 over 5. Put that in the calculator. Make sure your calculator is in degrees, not in radians. And it will give you 36.87 degrees. And to the nearest whole number, you round the 8 to 1, add it to 6, it becomes 7. So it's to the nearest whole number, it is 37 degrees. For the next question, we are using the same SOHCAHTOA, the formula at the top right hand side. So applying it to this, our triangle, looking up, that's the opposite from the angle X. The adjacent is 3.9 centimeters, the one next to the angle, and the hypotenuse, the one opposite the 90 degrees, is 5 centimeters. So we know A and we know H. Which one has A and H is the CA, which is cosine of X. We are using X instead of theta. So cosine of X is equals to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. Write down the formula first. Substitute in the adjacent value is 3.9, and substitute in the hypotenuse value is 5. So cosine of X is 3.9 divided by 5. To get the angle, you find the inverse cosine of 3.9 divided by 5. Put that in your calculator. It gives you 38.74 degrees. Round it to the nearest whole number. The 7 will round up to 1, and you add it to 8, it becomes 9. So 39 degrees. For the next question, you want to go to the triangle and label it. Start from where the angle X is. You're looking across. Opposite is 6 centimeters. Next to the angle is the adjacent. We know the opposite and we know the adjacent. Which trig ratio has O and A is the TOA. So we use tangent. Tangent of X is opposite over adjacent. The opposite is 6, the adjacent is 14. So to get the angle, we use inverse tangent of 6 over 14. You make sure your calculator is in degrees, and that will give you 23.199 degrees. Round it to the nearest whole number, it's 23 degrees. For this next one, you look at the angle, and opposite the angle is 4.5. So the opposite is 4.5 centimeters. The adjacent is 5.2 centimeters. So you know O and you know A. You choose the one that has O and A. That's TOA. So tan X is O divided by A. And now the opposite is 4.5. You sub that in. And A is 5.2. You sub that in. To get the angle is the inverse tangent of 4.5 divided by 5.2. Put that in the calculator. It gives you 40.87 degrees. And round that up to nearest whole number, that is nearest to 41 degrees. For this one, you look at the angle, opposite, adjacent is 2 centimeters, hypotenuse is 3. Which two do we know? We know the adjacent and we know hypotenuse. So we're going to use cosine theta, the car. So cosine of x is adjacent, which is 2, divided by hypotenuse, which is 3. So to get the angle, you find the inverse cosine of 2 divided by 3. And you use the fraction button in your calculator to put 2 divided by 3. And don't forget the brackets. And that'll give you 48.19 degrees. And nearest whole number, that would be 48 degrees for the angle. Work out the angle x. Give your answers to the nearest whole number. So the first diagram is an ABC is an isosceles triangle with AB equals to AC. The next diagram, ABCD, is a rectangle. And the last one, ABC is a right angle triangle, and D lies on BC, and DC equals to DB. BC is 13 centimeters. So we're going to start with this first one to work out the angle X. If you look at the diagram, it's diagram of an isosceles triangle. What's important thing that you can remember from isosceles triangle, two of the sides are the same length, these two sides. And that means these two angles, the base angles are the same. The one is coloring red and this yellow one, they are the same. But that means this other side is also 9 centimeters. So you have a right angle triangle there, which you can apply the trigonometric ratio. So you can use, you know, the adjacent, 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, half of that. So you know the adjacent to the x is 3.5 and the hypotenuse is 9. So which of the trigonometry has A and H? Is cosine. So cosine of the angle is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. The adjacent is 3.5 and the hypotenuse is 9. You sub in those numbers, and to get the angle, you find inverse cosine of 3.5 divided by 9, which will give you 67.11 degrees. And to the nearest whole number, that will be 67 degrees. Work out the missing side, x. When you want to work out the missing side for this triangle, you need to use the trigonometric ratio. So we know the angle is 34 degrees, opposite is x, hypotenuse is 3. Which trigonometric ratio has O and H? We use the SAW, the top right hand formula there. You see SAW, which is sine theta is opposite divided by hypotenuse. So that means sine of 34 degrees is equals to opposite divided by hypotenuse. The opposite is the x that we're looking for. The hypotenuse is 3 centimeters. So sine 34 is x divided by 3. Is divide by 3 on the right, If we take it to the left hand side, it would be times 3. The inverse of divide is times when you cross the other side. So it's divide by 3 on the right. When it goes to the left, is times 3. So it becomes x is 3 times sine 34 degrees. Put that in your calculator, you get 1.678 centimeters, which to the nearest to one decimal place is 1.7 centimeters. For this one, to find the length of this side, the adjacent is x, the hypotenuse is 3. So which trigonometric ratio, you ask yourself, which trigonometric ratio has a and h in it? Is the cosine. So cosine of 74 degrees is equals to adjacent, which is x, divided by hypotenuse, which is 3. It's divided by 3 on the right. So when it goes to, when you take the 3 to the left, it becomes times. So it becomes 3 times cos 74 degrees. And that will give you 0.826. And it's 0.8 centimeters to 1 decimal place. Work out the missing side x. Give your answers to 1 decimal place or better. The first one is an isosceles triangle. You want to find the missing side x. Second one is ABCD is a rectangle. We want to find this side x. And the third one is a right angle triangle. I want to find this short part x there. So let's start with the isosceles triangle. AB is the same as AC. So 14 on the left, 14 on the right. This length x, you can divide it into 2 with this bisector. So we can call this left side A and call this, just leave the other right side. We can call it B or just leave it like that. Now, we now have a right angle triangle, which I've drawn in red. You know you want to find A, the adjacent, and you know the hypotenuse. Which trigonometric ratio, that's what you ask yourself, has adjacent and hypotenuse? It's cosine from the car, CAH. So cosine of 72 degrees is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is A over 14. It is divided by 14 on the right. If you take it to the left, it will be times 14. So A adjacent would be 14 times cos 72. In the calculator, that will give you 4.3262. So we know A is 4.3262, but we want X, which is double that. So we times it by 2. So X is 2 times A, 2 times 4.362. And that gives us 8.652. And round it to 1, so 1 decimal place is 8.7 centimeters.